Welcome back to Squawk on the Street. Gold prices, we've been talking about this, of course, jump above $4,000 an ounce this week. It's a new record high, and the metal's up 50%, more than 50% on the year. Let's bring in Jim O'Neill. He's a former UK Treasury Minister, of course, chair at Northern Grindstone. Always good to talk to you, Jim. And I wanted to start off on gold just because I wanted to get your take. Like, what do you think about this move? Does it have a larger meaning, perhaps, than just looking at a chart?
Well, I think the sort of weak, superficial consensus in terms of a meaning is that it was another sign of the dollar and other major currencies losing any kind of base. Problem with that argument is that actually the dollar hasn't really fallen for about 3 or 4 months. And in fact, in the past week, it's gone up as well. Notably, in my view, by a surprising amount against the Japanese yen. So it is a bit of a mystery other than to default to the probable fact that there's a huge amount of momentum in it, as there are in certain parts of the equity market. And, there's a lot of investors out there that love momentum trading. And in terms of the only other substance I can think below it, it is probably the case that some of the very large, let's call it BRICS-based emerging countries are still probably shifting some of their portfolios from major currencies to gold, I'd guess. I mean, I don't know. But otherwise, I don't really quite get it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to put the question to you nonetheless.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It is.
In the context of this sort of also growing view that maybe AI is already starting to show signs of productivity improvement, and I was online listening to some of your summary of things being said earlier. There are 1 or 2 tentative signs of that, and I'm not quite sure this notion that everyone's got to own gold because the world's falling apart necessarily holds together myself.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned AI. I certainly would love to get your perspective on that as well. As you know, we do spend a lot of time talking about it for obvious reasons.
How can you not?
How can we not? Yeah, I mean, not to its impact in the markets and the financial system, but also ultimately the impact it may have on society. But I'm curious, sort of again, as another old guy like me, do you see things that rhyme with what we saw in the late 90s? Do you think we're building a bubble, or is this spend going to have a significant return and make a lot of sense to you?
I have no idea. In fact, yesterday afternoon, I was asked to make some remarks at an event hosted actually in the House of Lords with a bunch of very young, dynamic, idiotically bright AI investors. And I kind of joked as to I have no idea why I've been asked to talk to you. But then I kind of made 3 points that certainly if you look at the performance of equity markets and obviously where the leadership is, but here's the additional point. In addition to the marginal employment data that's now showing more signs in a number of advanced countries, I think you can start a narrative that there might be something going on in terms of AI, what economists would call is sort of diffusion out to beyond just the fact it's being built all over the place, that actually people are using it to help boost productivity. So I think there are some very, very tentative signs of that. The second thing I added is I hope that is the case, because obviously the equity markets seem to be sort of not worried about virtually anything and latch on to the AI story very quickly. And so if it's not that, then there's loads of things that could obviously go wrong out there. And then the third thing I said, which I think goes to the core of the deeper part of your question, is that if it's not helping boost productivity, then I think we're heading for some pretty big additional social dilemmas, because I cannot see how you can continue this staggering wealth being created by those, or for those in the forefront of this, let's call it revolution, sort of being allowed to go on by all sorts of societies if we still have so many people feeling disgruntled about not sharing any of the pie.